Yep, I think we are live. Let's go ahead and kick. In person, Steven Etzel, and my name's Jeff. Steven?
Yes, sir. Welcome to Ramble. Check it out. I'm even wearing the new Ramble apparel. I
Oh,
know that ain't impressive, huh?
you got
And
some
I also brought
connections.
my little yeah, boom. I also brought my little buddy along. That's right. Mini.
Oh,
Yeah. So what's really gonna be fun is when we get some call-ins, they can ask Mini Me anything that they want. And guess what? We don't know what we're gonna tell them, but we're prepared. All right, let's kick off the show. We're going to do a little quick intro, what we're going to be talking about, and get on into it. What do you think, Jeff?
that sounds good to me.
All right, well, here we go. Brief overview. We got to have them Trek updates, right? Those Trek violations. Every time, man, I get a lot of positive stuff about that, and people are always telling me, I love those Trek violations. Well, I don't know if I love them or not, but I love to know them so I don't get involved in them. Next one is what's happening in real estate. A couple things are going on, right? A couple updates. Not a whole lot with NAR, but there are a couple updates that are going on, not necessarily directly with the lawsuit per se, but things are starting to transition, and those are worth talking about. Agent tip of the week. Got a couple good ones. I was kind of reading through. We got a really good tips this time. Those really good. That can definitely help us out. Uh, we were going to have a guest speaker, but you know what? We decided to do something a little bit different this time. You know, we normally have those guest speakers. What we're going to actually do is kind of quote unquote ramble and kind of talk about what can help agents in their marketing. I think this is going to be a really good little segment because we can kind of kick it back and forth and kind of get ideas of what's helping us out in the field and kind of give ideas of, you know, maybe some software, some apps that have definitely helped us out and also can help your consumers. So this is going to be pretty good. Next thing is answer some questions, right? You can either ask me or don't forget Mini Me. And of course, Agent Spotlight. We got some good spotlights this time that they came out with some really good stuff that they've learned in the real estate career that can definitely help us excel as well. All right, Jeff, let's kick it off.
Oh, ouch.
Oh, yeah, that is good.
Yeah, we're gonna start out with
Buddy.
the Trek
Ooh.
violations.
Oh boy, here we go.
Here we
All right,
go.
Jeff, what you got for us?
All right, this first one is actually basically, last week we talked about, when you renew your license, if you do not claim or you don't notify them, you don't let them know that you had a felony or something, that happened.
Yeah.
Actually, it's you have 30 days to notify Trek. It's not just wait till your renewal date. It's notify them within 30 days. And this
Yeah.
fella did not do that, and he ended up getting a $1,500 fine and a suspension for 4 years.
Ah.
Yeah.
So so basically what happened was he just didn't notify him that he was it's not that you are under like court action or anything, it's a when it's a conviction. So you have to once you're convicted, you got to tell them, okay, because you are guilty till proven innocent. And then of course Senate Bill 624 came out in 2020 2019, and they've kind of loosened the belt a little bit on some of these criminal activities. They went from moral turpitude to fitness determination. And there are some situations where Trek, even if you do have a sticky background, all they want you to do is tell them the truth. You know, so if they ask, they're going to find out anyway because they're going to do a background check on you and they got your fingerprint. So $1,500 fine and a suspension for 4 years. Ouch. So
Yeah,
if you're
that
convicted of a felony,
yeah, in this
I'm not.
particular case, it was a DWI.
Oh wow! But it was just the sad part about it was failure to notify. Maybe if they would have told Trek that the conviction happened within 30 days, they might have been able to work through that and maybe kept their license and saved them $1,500. So yeah, that's a good lesson to learn right there. Oof,
Yep. Yep.
not good. All right, we got another one, don't we?
We do. Number two. So this one, it what happened was they basically did something wrong, and then after Trek got involved and started digging into it, kind of discovered a bunch more stuff that they should have done.
Ooh,
So
ouch.
this one was basically was kicked off by the agent acting as an intermediary without the broker consent. The broker is the only
Oh,
one that can assign another
right.
agent, another. So so that's
And
what
this was
kicked it off.
and this was a commercial transaction, right?
A commercial transaction, and so that this, and then that led to learning that the property was actually a residential property, and they used a commercial contract for that. So
Oh man.
yep, so that was hit number two.
Oh man, so that's negligent right there. Acting negligent, which basically means what a reasonable person would do under that situation. So basically, what happened was they wrote a commercial contract on a residential piece of property. So they used the wrong contract even to begin with, which I preach all the time in class. Use the right contract, and then they're acting as an intermediary. Oh my gosh! And so the intermediary, they didn't. What do they do? Just act as, I guess, if they didn't do it correctly, that would default to dual agency.
Yeah, so what happened was that agent actually asked another agent, and he goes, hey, I'll give you $500 if you will represent the buyer or the seller as in the intermediary. But the
Ooh.
broker had no idea. Broker was not
Oh,
involved.
again, those four forms. Remember we talked about them last week: listing agreement, buyer rep, 1409, and it looks like I'm reading the violation. It also looked like the IBS was even wrong.
And that was another, yeah, that, this
Oh, man.
this
There
whole
went
thing.
nothing right on this one, did there? So the
Yeah.
IBS probably had the wrong broker's name on there. They had the wrong contact. I see a lot of times what they'll do is for the supervisor, they'll put their name when they're not a supervisor, or they'll fail to put the supervisor's name, or they only put the broker's name and not the designated broker. So I don't know how it was incorrect, but man, $1,000 penalty, 250 per month for the first month, and complete a 30-hour contract course. Ouch. So that's a pretty hefty price to pay. And again, use the right contracts, and it also goes back to competency. What do you think? I
Yeah,
mean, you should have done
absolutely.
a little research on the property prior to writing up the
Yep.
contract. And that's just as easy as finding out. You can do a preliminary title search from the title company. That would have been helpful. Or even in, Realist, we have a lot of tools that we could use in MLS and even CAD. It could have told you what the actual zoning possibly could be, or even better yet, call the city. You could have
Yeah.
probably called the city and said, "Hey, what's the zoning on this thing?" So yeah, that's a big oopsie. So man,
So I think where the agent went wrong on this one is that the previous use was they were using it as a
mm.
car dealership office, and so maybe they just assumed that it was commercial, and that's where they went wrong.
So they just thought that, oh well, they're using it for commercial building, it's got to be automatically commercial, when they didn't ask the city. Basically, some people unfortunately use property for whatever they want too. So you're looking at it good. Just because the city don't catch you, sometimes out in the country, you see a lot of different things out in rural areas where they just kind of get a little bit more lenient on why they're using these properties. And so that might be definitely something to double check before you go in. So man, believe it or not, that's probably pretty common.
Yeah.
I really think that that's more of a common one than possibly the criminal offense one too. That's a sad part about the whole thing right there.
Right.
So, all right, man, there's a lesson to be learned. What else we got? Don't we got a pretty wicked win on this one too, don't we? Violation
Yes.
number 3.
Violation number three. So basically, the agent neglected or failed by failing to communicate and provide opinions and advice to the buyers.
Mm.
Um, Now let me see this one.
It looks like both the buyer and the listing agent were sponsored by the same
Oh,
brokerage too.
yep,
Oh,
yep, yep, yep.
and only the broker can appoint an associate license holder. So guess what? To represent a party in the transaction. So we got a couple problems going on. Number one, if you represent somebody, that's your fiduciary duty, right? Advice and opinions. Ouch. And then both the buyer and listing agent were sponsored by the broker. So that automatically creates an intermediary at that point. So that's intermediary with appointments. And Of course, that kind of goes back to what we were talking about. Only the broker can appoint. And this one actually came out a little better than the last one, if you want to talk about better or not. $1,000 penalty before. This one was a $500 penalty, but they got to keep their license, and they also didn't have to go to any training, which was I thought was kind of interesting because to me, I would probably even if Trek didn't require me to go to training, I probably want to go back and take an agency class. You know what I mean, just to kind of make sure that that does not happen again. So, ow, and that kind of goes back to when Trek looks at these complaints, they can find more complaints kind of thing as they're digging. But it also goes back to, hey, what happens if you get a complaint on the same thing? See, that's kind of, the routine of trade, if you will. So, I mean, you look at something like that, and if you get caught doing the similar situation, I don't think Trek's going to be as nice. So maybe it would be good to go back and kind of look through the books or take a class and ask some questions and make sure you fully understand before you get involved. And I look at it, that's definitely incompetent. All right, what do you think about the next one? Violation number 4. This is a good one.
Violation number 4. So here we go, and this is a pretty commonly overlooked issue. Respondent hired an unlicensed assistant who used the respondent's super key to show properties and open doors. So the backside to this story was the assistant did have a license at one time, no longer has an active license, and they just assumed that, hey, they can show properties. And they also gave the assistant's number to answer any questions about the property.
Ooh.
So,
yeah, it's a big mistake. Number one, if you're not licensed, you can't host or show property. Trek did change that rule about 5-6 years ago that they can't host and or give advice and opinions. Obviously, you got to have a license. Then you look at it and go, give a phone number for them to call the assistant. If they don't have a license, they can only do clerical work. So that's practicing without a license. That's a bad one. So unescorted as well. Oh my gosh. We had another violation like that. Remember that one? The violation a couple of shows back where we talked about if it was a rental property. And, obviously there's a form in your TACAR form that you can go unescorted if it's a rental. But, man, if they're a buyer, you need to be there the whole time. I would think they'd get a higher penalty than this. I mean, you're looking at practicing without a license, and you're also looking at, a super key. You're not supposed to give your super key to anybody else. And so I'm sure that the MLS wasn't very happy about that either, because that's a violation too. So, man, they got a world of hurt on that one. And I'm sure they probably got some TR, NAR complaints too. That's against some articles as well. So that's a pretty scary situation. Sadly enough, I think that's probably something that happens on a routine that people don't even know. Sadly enough, I've heard it I've actually been teaching a class. Somebody asked me almost the same scenario. I was like, not good. Let's just put it down. Is that good to do? You just gotta, and then you got to explain to them in a very nice way that that's not the proper procedure.
Yeah, so what kicked this off, and again, once Trek gets involved, they start digging. What kicked this off was the leaving the buyer unescorted on the property, and that's what kicked this whole thing off. So
that was the trigger. They kind of left them hanging and going, what is going on? So, wow. You're dealing with consumers. You never know what's going to kick them off. And so that's why I always say, I don't want to look in the rearview mirror. Let's do it the right way and know the rules and regulations. I don't know. This little situation here, I'd probably take the $1,000 fine to be happy with that little situation and probably take another maybe agency class. You know what I mean? And maybe kind of brush up on some of these rules and regulations of what unlicensees are to do and what unlicensees are supposed to do. Quote unquote, read the Trek rules. So that's not a good idea. All right, what's the next one is violation number 5. Oh, this one looks kind of like we had last week. What you got here?
Yeah, you know what? I went ahead and included this one because it's a little bit more common than a lot of people realize. And, here the agent promised them a rebate and neglected to follow through on that rebate. Offered them a $2,000 rebate and only paid $697. So...
I wonder how that promise was made on a form, or I kind of look at that like the one last week. I'm thinking promised a rebate? Was it a verbal, or what did they do? Put it in the buyer rep, or how did they actually tell them about the rebate? Which is kind of interesting. I wonder if they even did that one properly. But this one right here, false promise rebates, 535.148. And bottom line is, if you're going to rebate somebody, you got to disclose to all parties, right? And make sure you're doing it the right way. And it looks to me like you better follow through too, because that could be a false promise, and that's a TREC violation as well. And that's one of the 33 ways to lose a license too, by the way, is do a false promise. So you want to make sure you go through. Interesting enough, false promises not only fall under TREC violations. I'm just going to throw this out at you. DTPA, Deceptive Trade Practice Acts too. So if you look at it, Deceptive Trade Practice Acts is also, that's a violation for false promises or, unconscionable acts, misrepresentation, and breach of warranty. So that does fall into that as well. So, we look at these violations. I don't think people really understand that there's TREC involved, there's TR involved, right? Texas Realtors, and there's other rules and regulations that follow up as well. So, these are just kind of what could happen through TREC stuff, but it could get worse. So I think the audience should actually know that as well. So responded, $2,000. They only paid them $697, which I don't know where the 97 came. It's not even an even number, you know what I'm saying? And so they got caught. They got a violation, and it was $2,500.
Yep, $2,500. Yep. All right, we are having a little bit of a technical difficulty here.
Hey, call me. So yeah, I'm hoping they made a little bit more money than $2,500 penalty, because they only gave him $697. That's so yeah, not good. So fall.
Yeah, so it just simply takes showing some text
All
messages.
right, I think you put up.
Yeah. Hey, we're having a little bit of a delay here on the technical side.
Yeah, it looks like you got a little delay going on over there.
Okay. Huh.
All right, you back on?
I'm back. I can hear you just fine. I'll stop downloading music while we're doing this.
Hey, what's going on with that? Oh, phone ring.
Yeah, we got a phone. We got a caller. All right. Well. Okay. Well,
we're gonna kind of go to. Go ahead, Jeff.
And now we've got Steve in the news here.
All right. Well, there's not a whole lot of stuff like I was telling you about. The NAR lawsuit just started about 2 weeks ago. And we found last week that there are a couple people settling out. There's still some people in the game. So, things are still going forward. Nothing big on that right this second. A couple people, we talked about it last week, that they're, like RE/MAX, a couple other agencies are coming out of NAR. So there's no news on that per se. But it was interesting because we were doing a little bit more research, and we found out, look at this, over 60,000 agents have left the industry in the first half of the year. 60,000 agents. Is that a lot? That's a lot of agents. I've actually heard since the first of the year, they're expecting by the end of the year over 100,000. So, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but 60,000 is a lot to leave the industry. And we got all this information. If you go to a website, and it's basically the Realtor NAR website. If you go to the NAR website, just type in that information, how many agents have left the industry. But these are only realtors. You got to remember that. Not everybody's a realtor. Licensees too, right? We're not counting licensees. So you're looking at it going, realtors, that's a lot. That could be the same licensees throughout the board. I don't know. So if you go to the NAR website, you can actually find out how many realtors have left. Now, the next thing is, you got to remember this. When the housing market booms, so does real estate profession. So if you're looking at it, when the housing market was going the way it was going, remember way back in the old days, 2 years ago, we were getting multiple offers and everything else. When it was booming, everybody wanted to get in it. I remember when I first got into, real estate, it was, 90s, early, late 80s, early 90s, and things were moving along pretty good. Then everybody wants to get in around 2000. Remember that, when everybody just walk in the office and everybody got approved for a loan, the whole thing. So real estate really booms when it's easy for people to do the job per se, because people are just walking into your office looking to buy. When things start slowing down, it kind of reverses it a little bit, right? So when things are slowing down now, the interest rates are going up. I mean, you're looking at what I just looked at one the other day. It was for a $700,000 home, a pre-approval letter. The interest rate was 8.25. So you're looking at it going, the interest rates are going up. What's that doing? The market is slowing it down. So what's that going to do? The reverse effect. And so now people are going, we're not making the big money we did 2 years ago, right? The big boom's not around anymore. So, we got two things to do. Either A, hang in there and hope for the best, which I don't know what you feel about this, Jeff, but do you feel it's going to change?
Oh yeah.
I already feel it changing a little bit. Do you feel things changing around a little bit?
It is. Things are.
I already feel that, I've already seen it. Yeah, I mean, it is starting to change. And I don't know if it will ever be like it was 2 years ago. I'm not going to lie to anybody, but I do feel that it will start plateauing or evening out, I should say. And I do see things starting to kind of speed up just a little bit. And I mean, just like anything in real estate, there's cycles. There's always a cycle of real estate, and there's always been this historical cycle of 8 to 10 years. So you're looking at it going, you're either going to weather the storm or you're going to get out of the storm, right? So, and the people that make it in real estate are the ones that stick to it no matter what. Jeff's been in it for a long time. I've been in it for a long time. We've been through a couple storms, haven't we?
Oh yeah. Yep.
I've been through, I can't even tell you how many storms. I mean, 4 or 5, you're looking at it going, you just got to adjust yourself. And it's like, I remember we were talking the other day, we were talking like 2 or 3 years ago. I remember looking on Facebook, I just bought my brand new Porsche, all this stuff. And everybody's going, I just did this, I just did that. And I remember calling Jeff one day and saying, wait for it. You know what I mean? Wait for it. Then all of a sudden the market changed and everybody's going, my Porsche is for sale. You know what I mean? So, in real estate, you got to budget yourself, of course, but there's always a time to make money. And right now, I'll be honest with you, this is a good time for first-time home buyers. Believe it or not, this is a good time for first-time home buyers. Even though the interest rates are a little bit high, the property values are lower, right? So the good news is if you buy today, you can refinance, because, if they do go down sooner or later, they don't always go up. So eventually they may be going down, and there's different loan products that are available and so forth. And so when you're looking at it in all perspective, it's not uncommon to go through a transition like this. It's just who's going to hang in there, who's not, right, Jeff?
Absolutely.
It's just the way it is. And so it's going to cycle, and that's just the way it is. And so, but it's good for investing too. What do you think? It's a good time to get involved in investing. There's a good time to possibly maybe pick up some properties. That might be a good time to work with first-time home buyers. Unfortunately, they're expecting short sales to start on the rise. They're also expecting some foreclosures. But again, that's our job, right? It's all about helping the consumers. So there's opportunity anywhere you look.
There isn't a day that goes by.
We all know that, right? Look at the lease.
Yeah, there isn't a day that goes by I don't have in my email property, adjusted, price improvement. I mean, they're doing a lot of that right now. So it's an opportunity for buyers for sure.
Oh yeah, and leasing. I mean, every time I drive down the street, there's a new apartment complex popping up.
Yeah.
So leasing is seems to be still thriving. But the good thing about that is, hey, you're not going to lease for the rest of your life, right? So you're looking at it going, hey, get them into a lease, get them used to paying a payment per se, and then that way it might be easier to qualify them in 2 or 3 years when they're ready to buy too. So I mean, there is win-win situations. We just got to know where to look.
Yep.
All right, now the next thing is, like I said, there's not a whole lot going on with these. Right?
That was a little early cue, premature.
All right, so go ahead.
All right.
I was gonna say, man, what just happened right there? I'm just gonna finish up and say there's no updates for NAR, but we'll keep you informed. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I reached over and hit the button just a little bit early.
Yeah, you got a little trigger happy there.
Yeah.
All right, so NAR and MLS, basically the class action. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of new news. Let's put it that way. When there is some new news, we'll definitely let you know. And we kind of briefed it a little bit earlier. So when things start transitioning, we're definitely going to be on top of it, and we're going to give you the minute to minute action. Let's put it that way. All right, Jeff, you're cue to hit the button.
There we go. All right, now
There you go.
now we have a minute for our sponsor. And again, here I've got Handyman Plus website up right now. Actually, it's a Facebook page. And from big to small, Handyman Plus does it all. And there you've got their phone number and email address and just some pictures of some of the work that they've done. Again, these guys do a great job, and they're priced right. So give them a call, give them a shout, and let them know we sent you. Okay.
There's general contractors too, right? So they can also do flips and so on. So
yeah,
anything and everything. There you go. Fix and flips.
That's right. So now what do we got next?
Right.
Oh,
I guess we're going to move on to the tip of the week, right?
Is it
Agent tip of the week?
Yep, agent tip.
We got some good ones.
Let me find my button here. There we go.
Yeah.
There she is. Okay. Agent tip of the week. First one comes out from Tom out of Austin. And he says basically,
Austin.
Yep, in the house. Each year I scramble to get my required season credits completed in time. I have now scheduled some time aside in the month of January to knock them out before I get busy. And I think that's a great tip.
That's a good concept right there. I always get people coming into the class. I need my license renewed. Well, when's it up? Tomorrow. You know what I mean? So we got 2 years, everybody. So yeah, that's a great idea, Tom. That's a great idea. And I always try to knock them out. Even, I try to knock them out in the slow seasons. And historically, I'm not going to say they're always slow, but December, possibly maybe mid-November, January, when things start kind of slowing down, gear up to get going again. That's a great idea, Tom. All right, what else we got?
This tip comes from Vicky.
Got another one, don't we?
Yeah. Vicky wants to let people know that making a video of the listing and posting it on social media and posting that virtual tour on her listings has made a significant improvement on the activity she has.
Hey, all right. I think social media has come a long way. I think that's probably one of the easiest. Well, I'm not going to say easy. I'm not going to say easy. I'm going to say cheapest ways. How about that? And the easiest form to get out to people. Let's put it that way. And so social media, yeah. I mean, I think you can vouch for this. If I saw a listing and I didn't see a picture, I'm probably not even going to look at it. Right? If you're going through the MLS, I'm probably not going to look at it. And virtual tours, I think they're probably the number one thing that sells, properties because people want to see it. And so virtual tours have really come up. About probably 60 to 70% of all consumers probably want to see some sort of picture, virtual tour, or something so they can get an idea before they go out there. I mean, I'll be honest, that's like wasting your time if it's not what you want. You get out there and you're kind of bummed out, but at least you get an idea what it is. So yeah, that's good. That's good,
Right.
Vicky.
Yeah.
You can always hire people to do that too. It's not like you got to sit around and figure it out. Just, find people to do that for you. Fairly reasonable price.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. We got another sponsor coming up here.
We do.
Got another sponsor coming up, don't we?
We sure do. And it is, let me click over here. Well, first I got to hit my button. Okay, this one, CertaPro Painters of Louisville, Flower Mound. Now, they've got offices all over the state. We've got some agents that have used them down in Austin, all over. So they've got a real good professional crew that they come out and will give you a quote. And if you want it done right, these guys will do it. And
so they're painting contractors, and do they do anything other than paint?
They pretty much, that's what they do is paint. Yeah.
That's it, inside, outside, or whatever else, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's good. Everybody needs a good painter. Definitely, definitely, definitely. All right. Well, thank you.
Yep.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change gears a little bit. Is that all right for you there, Jeff?
Yeah,
If I
let's do
change
it.
gears?
Yeah, you change them.
All right. We're going to change it up a little bit. But I'm going to actually, before we get into ask the question segment, let's talk a little bit about some marketing. How about that? And some tools that we can use to help our consumers. What do you think?
Great.
Because I think a lot of people out there don't really fully understand that, there is a lot of cheaper ways of marketing. And there's also some great apps available to people that can definitely help not only them, but their consumers. Does that make sense? And some of these apps and some of these ideas that we may give you can definitely help you excel in your business. And it's like I say, if you can get an app, if I can get one, so can a consumer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with an app here that might help us out. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, yeah.
How about Landglide? Do you use Landglide? How you like that?
Land Glide? No, I don't use that.
Landglide, or it's also Land ID. You can also do
Oh,
Landglide or Land ID. And the cool thing about that is, you know what I'm talking about? Landglide is like MapRite.
yep. Yeah.
So you use MapRite. So it's basically the same concept. And the cool thing about Landglide, just real quick, I've been out in absolute nowhere land, and I've actually pulled up Landglide on my phone to see what the property boundaries are, and it will find you. It's off GPS tracking, and so if we could use it, so can your consumers. So see what I mean? So you can tell them they can download the same app and they can have the same information as we have, but unless we tell them, they don't know. What's a good app that you use, Jeff?
Yeah, it
What do you
is a
think
great
that can
app. In
help
fact,
you
I've
and your
got it pulled
consumers?
up right now, and just to show the audience what it looks like. But yeah, you can use this for a lot of different reasons. And I don't know. I'm going to pull up an address here. Um, yeah, right, an address here, Justin. But yeah, you can pull it up and different overlays and find out where the wells are, what pipelines are existing, all of that, property boundaries. It's a real nice app. So
Definitely nowadays with the wells. Oh my gosh! And now we also have to disclose pipelines on our seller's disclosure notices. So yeah, that's a good app. Another thing I like to use, Google Earth. You ever use Google Earth? I love Google Earth. If you
yeah,
use Google Earth, you can like zoom into a property and you can draw a line around it and come up with how many acres it is. So it's pretty neat. You can also look at the topography before you go out there. So that's very helpful. Especially with us, we do, farm and ranch. You don't want to drive 4 hours outside of nowhere land to find out this the property is on a hill. You want to make sure that you have the right topography and kind of get an idea where it's located as well. What apps do you use, Jeff? What's a good one that you want to throw out there?
well, I don't use Google Earth, but I do that Land ID. I use that. I mean, almost every day in one way or another. So that's one of my favorites.
Do you use any? Which other ones do you use that could be kind of helpful to our consumers and our agents?
Well, uh, well, RPR. That's obviously a big one. I use that often.
There
Um,
you go.
yeah.
I love RPR. RPR now just came out with Chat GPT. Did you see that?
No, I did not
If you
see
go
that.
into your RPR system, they also now have Chat GPT. It's absolutely amazing. And so you can get the RPR app, of course. If you ever use RPR, you also want to get the app, and that is only to realtors, of course, because it's an NAR product. But for realtors, Chat GPT just came out probably 3 or 4 months ago. And if you go into the RPR system, you go to the top where it says resources. There's like a little icon on the top running across your screen as you log in on the front page. Click on that, go all the way down to residential resources. Click on that. It'll say Chat GPT, and you can actually run and write reports of the market area of where you're interested into to send out to your clients. That's not a bad gig right there. And so you can make it professional. You can do to the buyers only, the sellers only. So you can also customize it as well. So that's a pretty good little app that I like to use as well. It's not really an app per se. It's in our MLS, but the app that goes along with it is the RPR app. So, those are really good to use together. All right. Another app that I like to use just for giggles, if you guys want to know a real good one that you can also give to your consumers, is Forewarned. Anybody used Forewarned before? You know what that one is? Those are background checks on people. Tell me that one's not cool. It's called F-O-R-E, Warned, W-A-R-N-E-D, Forewarned. And basically, it's an app that you can find on your iPhone or your Android. And if somebody calls you, all you got to do is look up their phone number, and it will do a kind of a background check on them. And I don't know about you, but a lot of the people that we deal with might not be on the up and up, right, Jeff?
Yeah,
And I don't want to deal with people that aren't exactly on the up and up. So, and this job does get a little. It can be risky, right? So, I don't know you when you call me. You don't know me when you call me. So, what's the best thing to do? Do a little research before you get out there. All right, what's another app that you got, real quick? Give them two more. How about that, Jeff? It's another app that you like to use that can help them out a little bit.
Well, I do use, maps in Google often when I am tracking
Oh,
or putting together a showing list. I use this all the time, and I do create different, routes. You want to create the most efficient route, and that's what I use to do this. So maps.google.com.
that's pretty good. Yeah, I use that a lot too, just because I don't want to, number one, don't want to get lost. And number two, if you're showing a lot of property, you want to make sure you're not wasting gas, right? Gas is pretty expensive. So I like to go out and take a look at it before I go kind of thing and kind of map it out. That's good. That's a really good app. I'll give you guys one more thing that I love to do for clients, and a really good website that is kind of gives them an idea of what and how they can be pre-approved for a loan. If you go to Google, all you got to do is Google in Texas real estate calculator. That's all you got to do. Texas real estate calculator. And it'll pull up on Google. And there's a calculator on there that can actually, I'm not going to tell you it's going to pre-approve anybody. That's not what I said. But a lot of times when you deal with buyers and they get approved for a loan, they don't understand why they can't be approved for 700 when they're approved for 500. You know what I mean? You know how they are. And so it's kind of a quick glance. If you go in there, it'll say, what's your loan amount? How much you putting down? What's the interest rate? What are the taxes? What are the insurance? And it'll kind of give you an idea what a ballpark payment's going to be. That definitely helps people out. And on that same calculator, you can go over to the top, and there'll be like a little notch thing that will say calculator or D to I. You can click it over to D to I. And if you go into the debt to income, the potential buyer can fill out and say, hey, look, we make $6,000 a month gross. We're $3,000 in debt, whatever the situation is. And that could give them a quick overview of what they may or may not be able to qualify for. So it's not a bad thing to give to your clients, especially, I talk to a lot of buyers out there that they all want to buy $1 million home. But once they figure out that, they go through a pre-approval process, whatever the situation is, they find out real quick they don't want that payment either. Those payments are a lot of money, and one of the biggest ones are taxes and insurance. It's not just P&I. There's other things that go involved in that. So, it kind of gives you a roundabout of what you're looking at. So it kind of keeps people in perspective. All right, Jeff, you got anything else about that, or?
No. But you do need to have a go-to financial calculator. I've got one on my phone. You might be working a seller finance deal. You to be able to kind of have an idea. Now, remember, you're not a lender, you're not an originator, you're not giving advice, but it's good idea to have, a good understanding how this works.
Yeah, it's just an estimate. It's all you're doing. Last but not least, I'll give you one more. All these title companies got some really cool apps. I always ask title companies, hey, what app do you have and what does it do? And a lot of those apps that, they can tell you what the real estate taxes are in those areas. They can give like a seller net sheets. They can give a buyer, they can also, give a good idea how much it will cost to close. So there's a lot of stuff that lenders or I'm sorry, not well, even lenders too, but title companies have some pretty cool apps to get involved in. Lenders may have some pretty cool apps that we can get. And all they do is help us. That's what it's all about. All right, Jeff, let's go on to the segment of Ask Steve and see what we got going on. I'm anxious to see what.
Okay. All right. All right. We got our first one here. Danny from Houston. They're asking, is there a form that I can use to ask the seller all the necessary questions I need answered when adding a new listing?
Well, a lot of times your brokerage may have a form. You know what I mean? That might be a good one. We got one, don't we, Jeff? We got a pretty good little form. Sometimes you got to make your own form, but your broker may have a form that's available. Another one, real quick off the top of my head, you can get into your Zip forms and you can actually get a list of all the forms needed. That can definitely help you keep track of the transactions. So that's good. So I don't know if there's quote unquote an actual form, a standardized form, but I'm sure that, I've Googled that before, believe it or not. I have came out with some pretty good questions that you can ask sellers, and maybe you can put them together, experience, or talk to other, maybe more experienced agents, and maybe they have something that you could put together, or maybe if you're on a team, your team leader might have something as well. A lot of times if you take a marketing class, because I do know in the GRI class, if you take the GRI class marketing, it does have a series of questions in there that you can use for your sellers. And a lot of other marketing classes and so forth, you might be able to pick up some really good hints. So no standardized form per se, but I don't think they'd be hard to find.
Yeah,
What do you think,
that
Jeff?
GRI.
I haven't had a problem finding any questions.
Yeah, that's a good place to go look, because I've got mine pulled up that I use, and this is all information from that GRI course. And I'll tell you, it's a good idea to have something like a pre-listing checklist, and that's what I call it, is to have them go through, and there you're going to remember to ask about mineral rights, ask the questions that sometimes you get busy and forget to ask. So it's definitely good to have something set aside for sure.
Absolutely. And so, that's why taking education is not a bad thing either, right? Pick up some pretty good stuff. All right, we got another one. We got Michelle from Amarillo. What do you got going on here, Jeff?
Well, she was really
That's a pretty good question.
Yeah.
I love this question.
Great guest speaker last week. Will you be having Matthew Alva back again to talk about roofs? So that's a hot topic sometimes, is roofing.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing was we just kind of scratched the cuspus on that last week, believe it or not. There's so many other things that are involved in it. We could have got into more insurance, and we could have probably got more into, hey, what would happen if this happened prior to closing, casualty loss and so forth, and how they actually handle that. So I'd love to have Matthew back. He was a wealth of knowledge. And, if anybody wants another guest speaker back, whenever we have them, we'd be more than happy to bring them back on again and get more in depth of what you want to learn. That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
So that's what the show is all about. Learning through what?
Discussion.
Conversation.
Education.
So that's how we all learn. And so, yeah, that's right. That's it. So we'll give old Matthew a call back and see if he's busy or not. If he's not busy, we'll try and schedule him again. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah.
All right, got another one. Janelle from Tyler.
Yeah, so Janelle is,
Tyler Tech.
She is wanted to maybe, she's maybe thinking that she's got a little bit higher split on her commission with her broker. And we know this is kind of a taboo topic sometimes, but she's asking, hey, should she consider a broker that only charges a transaction fee? And, what are the pros and cons of making a move like this?
Well, you got to be kind of real careful. Like I said, it's kind of a taboo deal, right? So you're kind of looking at it going, It all depends on, and I believe, now this is my personal opinion. Nobody, I don't know if it matters to anybody, but I've been in real estate for a long time. I've worked for, I started with 50-50. You know what I mean? Back in the day, that's all we had, right, Jeff? I mean, all
Yeah.
there was 50-50.
Yep.
You couldn't negotiate with anybody. And so nowadays, there's so many different brokerages coming out with different categories of not only commission splits, but different setups and different, start your own team. You can do virtual. So there's so many different avenues that you can take. And I look at it this way: if you're getting what you need out of that brokerage, in my personal opinion, commissions don't really matter. Does that make sense? Because the money will come. But on the flip side of it, if you're not getting or getting fed what you need, it's just like anything else. If you're working at a company and and there's nowhere to grow, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to probably go try to find a job that's going to help you grow. Correct? Real estate to me is a career. It's not just you go in there and sell a couple properties. When the market changes, you leave. You got to build this for your career opportunity. That's what it's all about. And so if you have questions or so forth, it might be time to maybe start asking some questions about other people you may know or peers or something, and maybe looking out on the internet and seeing what other have to offer and go and interview some. There's a lot of questions to ask your broker, because your broker is just as, think about it. They're responsible for your transactions, and they're just as responsible for your success if you think about it. And so, pros and cons, that's your choice. And I can't tell anybody a pro and a con about doing anything. But if you already feel like there's a problem, that's a con. Does that make sense? And so you might want to start seeking out some more positive to see if that's going to accommodate your career. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I don't think the commission should be that big.
Yeah.
I just never thought that way, because, I've worked for brokerages that are 50-50, but I learned more during the 50-50 than I did when I figured that, I'm going to go somewhere else to get something better. Then I'm out on my own. I'm not learning anything. You know what I mean? So I hear it all the time, everybody. So maybe when it's your chance or your time to go somewhere that maybe they're not offering as much brokerage wise, but they'll give you more commission and you're ready to do that, that's your choice at that point. What do you think, Jeff? Good opinion?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head there, because it isn't always about the commission. What are you being fed? Education. Are you given the support you need that, in the time that you need it? Sometimes these transactions, we work late hours and on the weekends, and if you don't have anybody that can support you during that time, it might be time to look around. But yeah, these transaction only brokerages they leave a lot to you to do, and if you're not ready in your career at that time to do it, then it may not be a good move.
Yeah, it's like I tell everybody, not every brokerage is for everybody. It's just the way it is. That's why there's so many different models. And then you got to pick it from there, and hopefully you made the right choice, right? So, yep. All right, we got another one. Stephanie. Hey, I like the name. All right. Stephanie asked a question. What'd she ask there, Jeff?
So she says, I'm a newer agent.
What'd she ask?
Yeah, I'm a newer agent, and I'm having a real tough time. Feels like there's very little support and or teamwork in this economy. Not a lot of sharing of knowledge with other agents. Is joining a team better for someone like me?
Well, I believe, this is my personal opinion, when I first got out into real estate, we didn't even have teams. Teams have only been popular for about the last maybe 5 to 10 years. And the reason why that team atmosphere was built was to offer support. The reason why the team atmosphere was built was so you can build that camaraderie with other teammates. And so I think a lot of times, when you're out on your own, sometimes you get a little lost and displacement, right? Unless you're, there are a lot of people that like to be the lone wolf, like me personally. I like that. I like being out there. I like doing what I need to do. I know what I need to do, but that's not everybody. It's kind of like online learning and in-class learning. It's, the same thing. You can either learn online or you don't want to be there. You want to go to a class, right? So it's the same kind of concept. And so I think, and I feel, and I've seen a lot more agents succeed when they do join a team, especially when they're first in the real estate market, because a lot of times they can bridge off one another and build something together. And that helps them build clientele, confidence, and they also get more support of what they need as well. They don't feel like they're just kind of running around going, what do I do next? You got some structure behind you. And I know we all got into real estate because, well, I'll be honest with you, we all got something in common. We don't want a boss. Does that make sense? We don't want a boss, and we don't want limitations on our money. I mean, that's just the way it is. But in all reality, if you really think about it, psychology tells us that we like to herd. You know what I mean? We like to be around people. There's not a lot of times where you don't want to be around people. So I think that most people in general like to have the team effort. They like the team behind them, and they also like that support. So, hey, I look at it this way: with the economy changing the way it is, joining a good, solid team that can support you, a good, solid team that's getting lead, that'd be great, right? And they all work together in synergy. I don't see a problem with that. I mean, that might be a good move for you.
Yeah. And
So
for you to
nothing.
don't get hung up on, exactly how much you're making right now. I know everybody's situation is different, but spend some time, learn what you can, and then make that decision to go out on your own or to not be on a part of a team. And you learn a lot from everybody, whether they've got more experience or less experience, just different perspectives.
They say the first 5 years of real estate is just learning. In all reality, I mean, I look back on my career now, and the first 5 years is when I really did learn the most, because it was such a learning curve. Just like when you're on a job, you don't automatically become the CEO. You got to start somewhere, right? So it's a learning process. And the good thing is, in real estate, you do have choices, and you make that choice when you're ready. That's what it's all about. So you choose your destiny. So it's a good thing. All right, heading on down. We got some good stuff coming up with the spotlight. What do you think?
Well, actually,
all right.
I think you might be looking at last week's run sheet. So we did not receive an agent spotlight this week. So.
Oh, man. I was hoping we were going to have a good agent spotlight go around. But you know what? I'm just going to say in general, for all the agents out there that are still working, not giving up on real estate, doing what they need to do, weathering the storm, I spotlight them all.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times where people want to give up. People don't understand what's going on. There's a challenge. One thing I do know about realtors, we love challenges. And so having that challenge, it's like I tell people all the time, if you second guess me, I'm going to come across a lot. I'm going to say, hey, you challenge me, I'm going to come through. That's what it's all about right there. And I think that's what business is right there. Don't let discouragement bring you down. We're seeing the market changing, and everybody that's weathered the storm, everybody that's still going out doing what they need to do day in and day out. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard to do. And I spotlight every one of them. How about that, Jeff?
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a good one. I agree.
We're fighters and survivors.
Yeah.
Hey, we're all fighters. We're all survivors, and we're all going to make it. So there you go.
And it doesn't hurt to help.
All right. So no, absolutely. And, we're all on the same team, everybody. So we're all in this together. So let's just help each other and grow. That's what it's all about. Yeah. All right, Jeff, you got one more sponsor, don't you?
Well, actually,
or do you not?
No, we don't. We can bring back our handyman. We've got the handyman. We've got the Pro Certa painters, and I think that's about it this week.
Well, hey, that's good enough, right? I mean, come on. We got a company that can help us fix everything, and then once it's done, they can paint it. How about that? So it's a win-win situation. I love it. All right, so we're coming to an end here, and just for a reminder, everybody, you can catch us on Facebook Live, and also if you have any questions, you can always call, and we love those comments. Let me tell you, I love the questions that come in. And I love the comments that you give us because that not only helps us grow, but it helps everybody grow. That's what it's all about. So you give us a call at 940-230-2899. And if you ever have an idea who could be a guest on the show, let us know. And we might be able to work that out for you as well. All right, there's your challenge. All right, so we're going to end it for today. Great show, Jeff. Thank you very much. And let's see if he gets the right button right. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to end this. All right, we're going to end it for tonight. And Mini Me says, have a great day. Jeff, any last words?
That's it. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys. And again, if you guys, ramblehour.com is our website. realestateramble@gmail.com. And like Steve said, our phone number is 940. Let me wait for it to scroll over here. 940-230-2899. And if you want to get connected and come live on the show, let us know. Send us a text, send us an email, and we can send you a link and we can add you right to it. So thank you, everybody.
All right, everybody. You have a great night. We'll see you next week. Party on.